This vlog is going to be the first vlog in a series of vlogs, I'm hoping, about books that I am reading, or books that I have read, or books that I want to read. So for this first vlog post, I'm going to talk a little bit about the book that I just finished reading. I actually just finished this last week, or this past week, and it's called Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, and it's by Jamie Ford. And this right here is my little page holder, my little book holder. So, it took me a while to finish this book. I had this book for a couple of weeks, and the reason why was because I had so many distractions, mainly YouTube. So I didn't finish the book as quickly as I usually finish a book. I usually read a book in a couple of days to a week. And I had this book for a couple of weeks. I kept having to renew it and renew it. There was a week where I didn't even pick up the book and read it at all. It was slow for me to become invested in the book. It's a good book, but it took me a while to become invested, where I just couldn't put the book down. Eventually, when I got rid of my distractions, I read the book straight through, and it took me like a day and a half. So I'm going to be talking about the book just a little bit, a mini review on my feelings on the book, and basically what the book is about, since I did read this book. It's a really good book. I actually pretty much, if I had read this book through, I probably would have finished it in less than a week. It's really good read. It's really interesting. So it's basically about... It's a fictional book, and it's about a little Chinese boy and named Henry, and his time growing up in, I believe, Seattle, Washington in the 40s, around the time of the World War II and the Pearl Harbor bombings. And so even though this is a fictional book, it actually talks a lot about what was going on at the time of the World War II and what was going on with different Japanese families at that time. So I learned a lot about that. So it is fiction, but it has a lot of historical facts in the book. So I really enjoyed learning about that. So again, the book is about a little boy named Henry. He's Chinese, and it talks about his relationship with his father mainly. And it talks about his relationship with his best friend, who happens to be a Japanese girl. And they are actually, they're friends, they're best friends. They actually met because they were the only two Asian kids in a predominantly white school back in that time. And so they dealt with a lot of, bad treatment and bigotry from the other kids. But it's mainly a love story. The main focus of the book is Henry's relationship between him and Keiko, who's the little girl. Their relationship, kind of like a Romeo and Juliet style forbidden romance, because Henry's father, who was very Chinese, was very much against anything Japanese at that time. And so the book was really, really well written. I love the style of the book. It's actually... it goes back and forth. So it talks about what's going on with Henry, who's now a grown man and has a son of his own. And that is in 1986. And then it goes back to what his childhood was like when he was growing up as a little boy in 1942, around the time of World War II. Really good book. Really well written. And I actually enjoyed a lot of the characters in the book. Some of the characters will surprise you, and some of the things that happens in the book will surprise you, because I was actually really surprised, and I'm like talking to my husband and saying, "Did you know this happened?" And now I actually want to go and Google, World War II, Japanese concentration camps and things like that was going on with Japanese people back in the 40s. Really good book. Like I said, I would absolutely recommend it. And I'm excited to get my next book. Now, how do I find time to read with 4 kids, especially with a baby? I just do. I have a lot of downtime in different periods of the day where I can pick up my book and read. My older kids are pretty independent. Plus, it's something I love to do. I love to read. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's like a favorite pastime of mine. It's one of my favorite hobbies. And that might come from the fact that I am a writer and I love to write. So obviously I love to read. So I just make time to read. I have time at night where I can read. I have time during the day when my kids are in school and I can put the baby in his exerciser, or I can put him down on his play mat and he reads. I read while he's playing. And when it's a good book, I can, spend a couple hours and I can be done with the book in like a day or two. So really enjoyed this book. Again, it's a fictional novel, but it does have a lot of historical facts in there about what was going on during the time of World War II. And it also delves a little bit into like the jazz scene back then for people who are musical and are into that kind of stuff. And it's just an easy read. I mean, I love the fact that the chapters were really short. I love the fact that it was really simple to get through. I love that. So after I became invested in the book, it took me, like I said, like a day and a half to finish it, and I enjoyed it. So I will be going back to the library. I go to the library on Mondays because the baby and I have Mommy and Me classes, and I will be taking out another book, and after I finish reading that book, I will give a mini report on that book as well.